Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. So today's topic is nutrition, and we're going to be discussing healthy weight loss post-pregnancy. So we just did a podcast about 3 ago, on how to exercise post-pregnancy. So definitely go check that out if that is interesting to you. So if you did just have a baby. So I talked about in that one where I had more requests and more women asking about this information, so I figured I'd put this stuff into a podcast and then be able to offer this informational resource for people in the future. So I wanted to have one for exercising and then of course one for nutrition. And most women after pregnancy, they're going to want to know how to do weight loss, like fat loss, but do it in a safe manner, do it in a healthy manner, and what are the things that they can do to take care of themselves and reclaim their health, and do it in the most efficient, best manner without all the crazy stuff. So too often women will either feel like they're trapped and they're overweight and I'm never going to lose weight again. They just kind of stay in the body that they're not happy with, or they eat nothing and they feel like crap and they get into binging starvation cycles, where you eat nothing for 2 days, then you freak out, eat everything. Then you eat nothing for 3 days, freak out, and eat everything. And what you'll notice is that's not a really efficient way to lose weight. So they might lose some pounds on the scale, but that's going to plateau very quickly. And then they're going to have a hard time after that, after maybe 2 or 3 months of that, they're going to feel like if they eat anything, they start gaining size. Because that cycle of starvation followed by binging is not really good for the metabolism. So it kind of beats up their body, and their body has a harder time burning off calories and stuff in the future. So a lot of times what negatively happens is women will do something improper to their nutrition, and that'll negatively impact their metabolism. And we've discussed in past podcasts what metabolism really is just how fast your body runs and how many calories it kind of burns at rest. So if you go through periods of starving yourself, the body tries to learn how to run off of less calories, and it can learn that really quickly. So then all of a sudden, when you try to go back to eating normal calories, your body had adjusted to running off of fewer than that. So now your normal calorie level is actually a caloric surplus, and that caused you to gain weight. So we have to make sure that we keep the speed of our body, our metabolism, running as high and as fast as possible, so that way we can eat as much food as we want without getting fat. So we're going to talk about how to do that today. And the first thing we have to look at is what are the most important things with a diet. So when we're looking at a diet and what all that factors into our food and what we eat, where should we put the most of our focus and our attention? Where are we going to get the most bang for our buck type things? And unfortunately, the answer is going to be everything opposite of what you probably are going to hear on magazine ads and companies trying to sell you diets and everything else. So they're going to tell you bullshit because they want to sell you a product and have you keep coming back for more. So what I want to tell you is the stuff that isn't sexy, isn't glamorous, isn't going to make me a millionaire, it isn't super duper fast. It's permanent fat loss, and it's healthy for long term, but it's not super duper fast. We're really only going to aim to lose about 3 to 4, maybe 3 to 5 pounds a month. That's it. Okay? And I know that doesn't seem amazing, but you string together 6 months like that, and that's significant. So that would be around 20 pounds. So 20 to 30 pounds that you can lose in 6 months. And that's significant. That's noticeable. You put that together for a whole year, and you could easily lose 40 pounds in a year, 40 to 50 pounds, and kind of reclaim a look that you would be happy with. Okay? So what I want to talk to you about is all the good basic stuff, the stuff that if you don't listen to me now and you go do all the gimmicky shit, it ain't going to work, and then you're going to have to come back to doing what I'm telling you now. So you can either listen this time, or you can come back in 6 months and listen that time. Okay? So the most bang for a buck, the most important things when we look at a diet, what all factors into what we eat, is calories. So we have a podcast number 41. I'm about to give you guys a lot of numbers here on podcasts, and so please get a pen ready, or you can kind of pause this and write stuff down. Well, the reason why I want to give these podcasts is everything I'm going to tell you now is kind of quick because I have to get to the real point of this podcast, but you can go back through and listen to these more in-depth podcasts to really understand it all. And if you're post-pregnancy, you're probably trapped in your house for a little while now. So by a little pooping demon. So you'll have time to listen to these, okay? So podcast number 41, titled Diet Right, What Matters Most. That's going to give you kind of the overall breakdown of what I'm going to tell you now. Is that calories is the most important, and it tells you why in that podcast. Then the next important thing is making sure we have enough protein in our diet. Then the next thing is making sure our meal timing. So when we eat our calories compared to our activity level, make sure that's correct. Then you would worry about macronutrient quality, like whether you're eating, brown rice or white rice, or saturated fats versus unsaturated fats, that kind of stuff. That's going to be kind of like fourth most important thing. And then the last is kind of everything else. So whether something is eating for your body type or eating for your blood type or all these other things. So there's a million things out there. So Diet Right, What Matters Most, podcast number 41 is going to explain all that. Now, if you're looking at calories specifically, podcast number 153, titled How Many Calories Do I Need, will tell you how many calories. Now I'm going to give you guys a more generalized approach in this podcast on how to control your caloric intake. So listen to this whole podcast before you go check out that one. But it is something that if you want more clarity on, you can check out that podcast number 153. The next thing we worried about, like we said, was protein. I have to make sure I'm eating enough protein. So if my calories are correct, but I'm getting most of them from carbs and fats, I'm going to feel soft and pudgy. I'm going to have water retention issues. Some days I'm going to feel fat and fluffy. Some days I'm going to feel kind of drawn out, not a lot of energy. So you're going to have a lot of fluctuations in the way you feel, in the way you kind of like feel internally, in the way you feel in the external. So like water retention and feeling soft and pudgy and stuff, if you don't have protein correct. So podcast 33 discusses how much protein do you need. Now I'm going to tell you it's 0.6 grams per pound of body weight. And we'll go through that here in a second. But if you want more detailed information, podcast 33 will tell you that. Then meal timing is podcast number 249. Okay, and that one is about meal timing. And essentially what you're trying to do is, when I'm most active is when I'd eat most of my calories. When I'm less active is when I want to eat less of my calories. So most people in America kind of do this wrong, and probably other areas, not just America, but where we're kind of busy during the day, so we deem ourselves to be too busy to eat. And we kind of just busy. And we survive off caffeine and coffee. And then at night we say, holy freaking crap, I'm hungry, and we eat everything in the house. The problem is we were super active during the day, but we didn't eat anything. Then we're inactive at night, and we're eating everything. So it leads to that starvation time during the day, where our body is being told to operate on less fuel than what it needs. And then in the nighttime, we're giving it excess fuel. But what do you think it's going to do with that? It's going to save it, because it just had to deal with the last 8 to 12 hours of being underfueled. So then all of a sudden it goes, holy crap, here's a bunch of fuel. I'm going to save this stuff. And that turns into body fat. Okay? Whereas if we match our calories to our activity, we have a significant decrease in need for body fat, and you can actually reduce your body fat. Then macronutrient quality, we kind of have podcasts on protein in general, like protein types is 216. Carbs, whether the good or bad carbs, quote unquote, is podcast 21, and what are the good or bad fats is podcast 29. Now I know that's a lot of podcasts right there. So right there I just gave you about like three and a half hours worth of information. So you don't have to go back and listen to all of those, but I did want to provide the numbers for them, so that way if you're listening to the order and I'm telling you, whether something's white rice or brown rice, and that's one of the least worries of yours whatsoever. Even whether something's organic or inorganic, or not organic, I guess. So going back to chemistry class. So whether something's organic or not doesn't really matter much. Okay? It's way down the totem pole. You need to be paying attention to calories first, your protein content first, meal timing first, before you would worry about whether something's organic. Now, if you don't believe me, like I said, you can kind of go about this your own way, and you're going to recognize that you're going to get some results, but not all the results possible. So if we focus on this stuff in the right order, you will get the best results for the amount of energy that you want to put into this. Okay? So if I'm going to put in, 8 units of energy, I want to get 8 freaking units of results. I don't want to be putting in 8 units of energy into the wrong stuff and only producing 3 units of results, which is what most people do. Okay? So we want to make sure we're looking at the right components in the right order. Now, our general goals when we're eating post-pregnancy is to eat enough to be healthy, to make sure we have enough vitamins and minerals, we have enough food and all those micronutrients to support our immune system, to help with daily energy, to produce good hormone balances and stuff like that. We want to make sure that we eat enough to feel good and make sure our body can run well. So that's the first goal of post-pregnancy nutrition. It is not fat loss. It is not weight loss. Our first goal is to just feel good and be healthy. Okay? So most likely, when we were towards the end of the diet, like end of the pregnancy, the nutrition might have been helter-skelter a little bit everywhere. We were probably having cravings, eating a little bit of junk, we gave into the stress of it all and the difficulty of it all, and we may have lost what good eating was. So let's restore that first. Let's just get back to giving our body what it needs to be fueled and healthy. So too often when women are post-pregnancy, like I said, they start eating nothing because they just want to focus on weight loss. But then they wonder why they feel like crap. They don't, like, their body just doesn't kind of want to run all day. They just have bad mood, and they're really struggling with depression and stuff. And some of that can factor into their way of eating. Whereas if you eat enough that your body can run well, you will have better energy throughout the day, you'll have a better mood, you'll fight off depression some. You might actually have enough energy to start exercising eventually. So a lot of women at first are like, oh my gosh, like, I'm dying, there's no way I could exercise. Well, it's probably because you're not eating anything. You're trying to run a machine with no fuel, of course it's not going to run well. So our number one goal is to eat healthy. Our second goal is to eat low enough in calories to allow for fat loss. Okay? And we're going to aim to lose about 3 to 5 pounds every 4 weeks. And that's after the first initial, say, week or two where your body's just kind of settling in after the pregnancy. So it's kind of healing up and kind of getting back to its normal self. So why do we want to lose about 3 to 5 pounds every 4 weeks? That's the rate of about a pound a week. However, if you measure your body weight and you try to micromanage 1 pound per week, it's going to be very difficult, okay, to know if you're doing it well. Because our body weight fluctuates a lot. Our body weight can fluctuate 2% per day, and that does not have anything to do with fat loss or fat gain. It's just weird variability of the body. So if I weighed 150 pounds, my body weight can fluctuate between 147 to 153, and that's not a negative. It's nothing weird. It's just the way the body works sometimes. Sometimes we have more sodium in our foods than other days. Sometimes the humidity is different, so we've sweated more or less than other days. Sometimes we consumed more or less water than other days. There's a lot of variety to what would make us weigh what we weigh. So when you weigh yourself on a scale, you're weighing more than just fat. You're weighing muscle tissue, you're weighing bones, you're weighing the water that you're retaining, you're even weighing any food that maybe you're retaining. So there's a lot of variability to why a scale would change that is unrelated to fat loss or fat gain. So if you try to micromanage 1 pound per week, it's going to be very difficult, and you're most likely going to be very defeated because it's going to seem like it's not moving anywhere, or that it's kind of helter-skelter, bouncing up and down a little bit all over the place. So we will go through here and I'll discuss it, that you're going to track your body weight at least twice a week. So you're going to write that down. But we don't compare week to week. We compare every 4 weeks to each other. So weeks 1 and 5, I would compare to each other. Weeks 2 and 6, I would compare to each other. So you would compare weights with a 4-week span in between them and see what the difference is between those. So you're going to compare weights every 4 weeks. That's the goal. Okay? Now, what does all that look like? So those are our two main goals, is be healthy and then lose weight at a sustainable long-term rate. How do we put that into practice? Is, in general, we're going to want to eat something, and I'm going to give you a caloric range here that's a big fat guess, and it's just an estimate for most women, okay? Is you want to eat something about 200 to 400 calories every 3 or 4 hours. Now, there is some variability there, but this is the best I can do on a podcast that can be gone to, hundreds or thousands of people. I can't give you the exact number for you specifically, okay? So that's where podcast 153 about how many calories do I need will help. So, but in general, what you would do is you would eat every 3 or 4 hours, and you're going to eat something about 200 to 400 calories. You're going to focus on some of it being protein, some of it having carbs and fats. And that's where listening to those podcasts, number 33 for protein, number 21 for carbs, and 29 for fat, that's going to help you understand like different types of fats and carbs that are out there. What are the better sources of all this stuff? And again, I can't give you too much specifics because what if you're lactose intolerant? Your sources of proteins are going to be very different than somebody else. What if you're vegan or vegetarian? Again, your sources are going to be very different. So I'm trying to give you guys kind of general stuff that you might have to put a little more work into, but this is going to give you the format or the foundation to kind of start from, okay? So we would eat 200 to 400 calories every 3 to 4 hours, making sure it has some protein. How much is some protein? About 5 or 10 grams of protein. And it's okay if one meal doesn't have protein. You can have the next meal where maybe that meal has like 15 to 20 grams of protein. Okay? So that's the idea, is we're controlling calories by being 200 to 400 calories. We're controlling meal timing by it being every 3 to 4 hours. And we're going to control protein by having some protein in every meal. We're having it spread out, every other meal type thing. So we would want to aim for how much protein per day is 0.6 grams of protein per pound of body weight. You probably don't even need that much, but one of the benefits of having extra protein in your diet is that it helps you feel more full throughout the day and from meal to meal. So our body takes longer to kind of burn through protein. It has a lot more work that it can do with protein. So protein does a lot of stuff in our body. It heals and repairs muscles, skin. It grows like our hair or nails. It regulates body temperature. It regulates pH balance in your blood. It does a whole bunch of fun stuff. So there's a lot of work for protein to do. So if you have a little bit of extra protein in your diet, it absolutely will not hurt you. You will have absolutely no concern over kidneys. So if somebody tells you that extra protein in your diet can hurt your kidneys, they're an idiot. That's not true. Unless you have some kind of kidney disease, well then sure. You might want to be careful about that. But there's absolutely zero concern of there being extra protein and influencing your kidneys. They've done enough research and studies nowadays that they've completely proven that to be false unless you had some kind of preconditioned medical condition. Okay? So if anybody tells you about that, they're an idiot. Don't take any advice from that person. Okay? So that's going to be our goal, is eat something every 3 to 4 hours, about 200 to 400 calories, having some protein, with the goal of all the protein added up throughout the day being about equal to 0.6 grams of protein per pound of body weight. So if I weighed 150 pounds, I would want to eat whatever the hell 15 times 6 is, which is 80. So yeah, 80 grams of protein, if I did the math right. So that would be your goal. Okay? So the other thing we can think of is when I'm more active, if I find myself being more active during the day, that's when I want to eat more. So I might have those meals that are 200 to 400. I might have more like my 400 calorie meals during my most active times. When I'm inactive, I want to drop that down to maybe 200 or 300 calories. So I'm giving you guys kind of, again, a specific number here, but the general concept is what we're looking for. Is when you're more active, eat more of your calories, so those meals can be bigger. When you're less active, eat smaller caloric meals. Okay? Now, you can pay attention if you want to, having more carbs in the meals when you're most active, and focusing more on fats when you're inactive. But that's pretty small potatoes. That's not going to make that big of a difference, okay? So it's more important that your caloric amount is correct rather than whether you're eating carbs or fats. And absolutely zero need for you to go all like low carb or all low fat. You can eat fats and carbs. You just have to make sure you can have them at kind of like the right times and the right amounts. There is absolutely no need, and it's never recommended from anybody with any intelligence, to completely cut out like a food group like that, okay? So if you think about like ketogenic diets, which is like a keto-based diet, which is fat-based, and somebody says like, oh, you should never eat carbs, they're an idiot, don't listen to them, don't take advice from them, okay? So what determines whether you lose weight on a diet is just caloric. Like, you have to make sure you control your calories. They're doing that in a ketogenic diet by trying to completely eliminate carbs. Well, yeah, that's going to reduce your calories because you're eliminating a third of like the foods that are out there. Now, it's not 100% accurate, but our food is made up of fat, carb, and protein. So if I try to get rid of all my carbs, that really limits my choices. That'll cause a caloric reduction. it's not that eliminating calories helped you lose weight. I mean, eliminating carbs helped you lose weight. It's that eliminating carbs caused a caloric reduction, which helps you lose weight. So it's important to know the difference. Okay? So you absolutely do not have to do a ketogenic diet to try to lose weight. Okay? Again, if there's people like that giving you advice, stop listening to those people. Now, what we do next is, so that's kind of like the way we structure our meals, is every 3 or 4 hours you want to eat something. And you want to eat more of something when you're more active, eat less of something when you're less active. And we want to make sure we have protein a little bit throughout the day, at kind of a little bit of every meal or every other meal. Okay? So that's kind of the general structure. I know that's very vague, but that's what you want to set up. Okay? Now, you'll track your weight, your body weight, and you can track it at least twice a week. You can track it every day if you want. Again, you're not comparing day to day. And if I track it twice a week, say Mondays and Thursdays, I'm not comparing Monday to Thursday. I'm comparing weeks apart, 4 weeks apart. So I'm comparing Monday of week 1 to Monday of week 5. Those are the weights that you would compare to make sure you're making progress. Okay? So you track your weight, and then what people don't do enough is you need to track your energy. So if you think of a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being miserable, you felt like you were dead all day, 5 being like you felt like you were bouncing off the walls and you had really good energy. You want to track that when you track your weight. And again, you can do this every day. And I actually suggest you do it every day because it gives you good consistency. And the more days you track, the more you can identify patterns. So you can track every single day and say, oh, today was kind of a shit day. I felt like I was really tired, so I'm just going to give myself a 2. Or you can say, man, I felt really good today. There's a couple little slow points in the day where I was kind of feeling sleepy, but overall I felt really good. I'm going to give that a 4. Okay? So what you would do is you want to use that and then track that stuff. So we have a check sheet, so you can email me at brutalironjim@gmail.com, and we'll give you a check sheet that checks your meals. And what you can do is every time you're supposed to eat, you write a check mark if you had good, healthy food. You write an X if you ate something crappy or a lot of calories, and you leave the meal blank if you skip the meal. So that'll help you see how well you're adhering to just general parameters of a diet. So am I eating relatively well? Then when I track my body weight, I can compare every 4 weeks, make sure the body weight is going down, and going down at the rate we want, every 3 to 5 pounds every 4 weeks. And then I want to track my energy. And if I notice I'm at a lot of 1s and 2s all the time, and my weight is falling faster, so maybe in 4 weeks I lost 8 pounds, you're under eating. You need to eat a little bit more and give your body a little more energy. But if your energy is at a 5 all the time, and you notice you haven't lost any weight in 4 weeks, well then you probably need to eat a little bit less. So that's the idea. So if we track how well we're following our diet, that'll help as well. So if I say, you know what, I'm trying every day, but I'm not getting any results. And then we look and it's like you're screwing up 3 or 4 meals every day. Well, that's not trying. So you got to be a little bit more disciplined than that. So we're trying to balance all 3 of these things. Tracking our adherence and how well we're doing with our diet. We're going to track our body weight to see if we're losing weight. And we're going to track our energy to make sure we have enough energy throughout the day. So that's going to be how we kind of regulate all this. Okay? So, now, if this sounds interesting to you and you want that check sheet, email us, brutalironjim@gmail.com. If it sounds a little overwhelming, like you're interested but you're having trouble trying to figure out how to put it together, still email us and we'll figure out a way to help you. Okay? So we'll figure out some structure or something like that. And we do offer like nutrition plans, but I'm not telling you that so I can charge you money. I'm just telling you that if you want to do this and it just seems a little overwhelming, email me. Tell me what you feel overwhelmed with and I'll help kind of give you an answer. Okay? So that's it. That's basically how we want to control our food. Make sure we eat enough that we're healthy first. And then make sure we're eating a controlled amount so we get some degree of weight loss or fat loss over time. That's going to be our goal. Then you want to start adding in exercise when you can. And that's why we had that podcast about post-pregnancy exercise. So we discussed a little bit about that. Let me look up that number just a few ago. So is, if I can spell. So concepts for exercising post-pregnancy is number 262. Podcast 262. And really quick, you can do a little bit of cardio at first. Just kind of moving around, getting your body moving. So then you want to add like lightweight resistance to your cardio circuits, kind of like body weight exercises you can do like off YouTube or stuff at home. And then you want to add weighted resistance every like 1 to 2 times a week. And the reason why for all that is General Cardio Podcast is number 120, discussing the types of cardio and the benefits. Then there's podcast number 30 titled Muscle Cardio, and that tells you why it's more beneficial for fat loss and muscle retention to use light weights when you're doing cardio. And it explains how to do that in that podcast as well. That's podcast 30. And then podcast number 181 titled Using Muscle Damage for Fat Loss. That explains why weight training 1 to 2 times a week helps you get leaner faster. So don't be afraid of lifting weights. Lifting weights actually helps you lose weight faster. Okay? So if you've had experience in the past where you thought you gained weight from lifting weights, it's because you overate. So exercise doesn't make you gain weight. So if I make my muscle contract against a weighted object, that doesn't make me fatter. There's no way for that muscle to get big if I don't eat extra calories. So the only way muscles grow is if there's excess calories, because that's what muscles are made of, is protein. So if I'm not overeating protein, my muscle can't possibly grow. So don't ever think that exercise made you gain weight or exercise made you fat. No, it can't. It's physically impossible. So exercise can't make you gain weight. Food is what makes you gain weight. Okay? So don't be afraid of exercise. Don't be afraid of lifting weights. It's actually going to make you lose weight faster, and you'll make sure you actually have some curves when you lose fat. You'll have some muscle curves to yourself. So go listen to those podcasts and try to figure out that when you're interested with exercise. And again, that's 262 Concepts for Exercising Post-Pregnancy. Cool. Okay, so hopefully this was helpful, gave you some good thoughts. And if you notice, nothing in this was super sexy, nothing promised to lose 30 pounds in 30 days. It is a little more complicated because you have to measure things and you have to have a little bit of variability every day. You can't just make black and white rules and follow stupid shit and imagine it to work forever. Okay? So you got to put a little bit of work into this stuff. But it'll be absolutely worth it because this is a way to eat that you can sustain for the rest of your life. So why not take the next 6 months to figure out how to eat well for the next 60 years? Okay? Makes sense. It's a good investment. So listen to the podcast. Learn how to take care of yourself while you're learning how to take care of that new baby. Okay? And you don't have to lose yourself in the process of being a mom. Okay? You can still have a life. You can still have your own identity. You can still have the body back that you are more aesthetically comfortable with. So it's good to be proud of the body you have. It's the one that gave you the baby, so that's pretty cool. And you can celebrate that. But it's okay to want to reclaim some, more aesthetic balance, like wanting to lose weight and, get your shape back. That's okay. It doesn't make you vain. It doesn't make you a bad mom. It's okay to want to lose weight and kind of get back to where you were before you were pregnant. Okay, or even a little bit better maybe. That's an okay thing. Okay, so learn as much as you can. Pay attention to what you do every day. And just be patient with everything. So everything just takes time. So you just have to put in little efforts every day, and then that gathers itself over time, and that's how you get momentum. Okay, that's how you move forward. Cool. So if you like the idea of this, and you want any help, or you want to check sheets, anything you need, okay, anything at all, just shoot us an email at brutalironjim@gmail.com. We'll be very, very happy to help you. Okay? I want you to be healthy and happy for that baby. So let us help if you need it. Cool. So if you like this information, you can find more from us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, Brutal Iron Gym. Also, if you like the podcast, please share it with family and friends. So the more people we help, the happier the world will be. And if you have any questions, feedback, or suggestions, we would love, 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 love to hear from you. So the podcast is for you, so we'll know what you want to learn about. Okay? And our email is brutalironjim@gmail.com. As always, I hope this was helpful. And thank you for listening.